to make sure it's up. This is my favorite thing ever. This is when I actually like feel in the moment. You know what I mean? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie here on the East Coast after a wild week from UFC 306. But we're not getting into that just yet. We actually have a really special guest, a really interesting guest. You guys love martial arts. You love the arts part of it, the chaos that goes into it. Well, there's an equal balance that happens in between it all. There's a lot of magic behind the scenes that goes on, and there's a lot of respect there. There's a huge art behind what this man does. Our guest today, he's a comedian. He's a ring announcer. He's been a part of Pepsi, NASCAR, the Atlanta Hawks, also the Zone, and he's got a bunch of upcoming events that you guys need to check out. Guys, I'd like to welcome today's guest. We got Chad Fishburne joining us. How you doing today, Chad?
I'm awesome, brother. Thank you so much for having me on. This is super cool, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, of course. Anytime that somebody reaches me, immediately, I feel honored. We have interviewed so many guests over the years, between Bilal Muhammad before he was in the UFC, Valentina Shevchenko, Mayhem. I mean, so many people before they became the stars that they are now. Justin Gaethje. The magic really is when you see it being born, right? You see the magic happen and you feel a part of it. Now, I want to jump into this with a little bit of the creative art side that balances the chaos in combat sports here. And you are a huge of what goes into all of that. And I gotta say, man, let's start with this question here.
Yeah.
You're in Los Angeles, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, when I went to broadcasting school, I'm here in Connecticut, okay? There's not many opportunities. You grow up a young kid. You're on the football team, baseball. You have big dreams, big aspirations, right? You
Yeah,
be
man.
the captain of the team. But along the way, it could be your parents, your friends, people around you that try to program you to think that it's not possible. I was part of the football team. I was always into arts, music, like that. I never once had, even if somebody liked a song or a performance, say, when I said I'll go to the NFL one day, they never said it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
you're surrounded by dreams. You see them on TV, but they want you to settle for a safety net. You get into the flow. You try to create your dream. You chase it. And along the way, I've realized something very, very strange. And I want to start here. The naysayers. When your dream started, did you believe that you could do this? Did you have naysayers? Did you start in Los Angeles, or did you move out there? Where does your story begin here? This is going to be actually really interesting.
Yeah, man, for sure. No, that's a great question. I think we've all had naysayers along the way. To answer your question, I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, so I'm an East Coaster as well. I spent most of my time in Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, so I'm a Southern boy. And my wife and I moved out here. Gosh, it's been about 15 years now. So, not to give away my age or anything, but that's how it goes. So, but the naysayers, I mean, yeah, they started all the way in college because I used to actually do impressions of Michael Buffer, who, in my humble opinion, is the GOAT as far as ring announcing is concerned. I love, Bruce as well. And I think as long as you're studying footage, you can learn, from anybody, but that's probably a different question for later maybe. But as far as the naysayers, I used to do Michael Buffer in college. Like my friends would just be like, do Michael Buffer, and I would give it my, one of my favorite intros was Evander Holyfield, because he's got a badass nickname. If you have a cool sounding name and a badass nickname, then it's like the perfect combination. So anyway, they would like kind of just laugh at it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be like, man, that was awesome. They would just kind of laugh at it and treat it more like entertainment, which is fine because, like, again, you pointed out, I'm kind of in that realm. If it's got a microphone, live event MC, ring announcer, comedian,
and you're getting
whatever,
a rise out of them when you're doing that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it was weird because when I started doing that, it was not the rise that I was expecting. But then the older I got, the more experienced I got, it's like, okay, well, if you're making somebody feel something, if you're getting them excited, whatever, if they're laughing, if they're getting hype, that's what I love. I have a passion for that, interacting with the crowd. But I think that even like the getting a laugh is amazing. But like, I just heard from a fighter the other day that I pumped up before his title bout, and he reached out to me and said, hey man, thanks for helping me get hyped up for that fight. And that meant more to me, I think, than getting a laugh, and it, again, that's a difficult thing to do, especially, by yourself up on stage. It's material that you wrote. So,
there's a real rawness of, the rising action and combat sports, and how it reflects something so primal about human nature in a way.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Yeah. I mean, like, these people will put their lives on the line, honestly. I mean, like, let's be honest. And, they train for months and months and months, blood, sweat, and tears. So that, for me, it's, we talked about passion a couple minutes ago before we, got on the air. And like, I can see you have a passion for this, just like I do with ring announcing, because I know the amount of time and effort that it went into it. And for me, not only do I want to do the best I can for that fighter, but it's more than that. It's their family, it's their team to help them get prepared. Their grandma might be in the audience, and this is the only time she's going to get a chance to see them fight. So you're damn straight I'm going to bring my A game, because I don't know who's out there. So I bring my A game every single time, because it means this is their everything. And so therefore it's my everything.
It's wild, because, I don't know if Hunter S. Thompson is, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I actually started interviews on the radio when I was 7 years old. Casey and I interviewed Stone Cold Steve Austin. I got to see him from school. What? And yeah, I started at
I'm a huge wrestling fan, so we'll talk about that some too.
young age. And, it's really interesting the way I see sports and art, because every person, every action, every noise, the environment, you're creating this tapestry and this chaos of the world around in this moment that could be very intense. It could be life moment of somebody's life. It could be what they've worked up their entire lives for. And when it comes to mixed martial arts, I give them so much credit because, like we're talking about naysayers, you could be champion Israel Adesanya, make your way all the way to the top. You lose one fight against one of the top guys, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's lost it." These guys are competing at the top. There's naysayers everywhere. Don't understand sometimes how to block out the negativity. I heard Rashad Evans talking about this when he was champion. He said, "I thought when I got the belt, everything would be perfect," but no, he still fed into people on social media, this and that, and every person that enters any sort of opinion or a hand in it, it has a real big effect, a lot more than they think is happening here. And when it comes to you and the chaos of it all, you got the grandparents, you got the girlfriend sitting there, watch children, they're children.
Yep.
How do you go about balancing all of that to make it an experience that unforgettable, but yet so raw and very, I don't want to say violent, but it is very hard if you have watching them and you going in, maybe having a brought to you by Pepsi, this movie's coming out. How do you really find a balance to make everybody happy and also make it your own? Because it's a very difficult thing.
No, it definitely is. You're right about that. I think for me, it all starts with the prep work. Like, people will watch an event, right? Like, you tuned into, UFC Noche, UFC 306. And, I don't know exactly what Bruce Buffer's preparation is, but I know that mine starts like the week of a fight. I'm reaching out to fighters on probably Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. And what I'll do is I'll shoot them a text message because sometimes I don't have as much time with them on site as I'd like. I want to know exactly how to pronounce their name. Because again,
that's another big thing. The culture of it all, it could be very disrespectful. You go in there and you mispronounce something. It's very
that's not going to happen with me. And that's so and I don't like it to get to crunch time, and that's just me personally, because I want to have enough time with it. Sometimes it requires rehearsal. A lot of names are, to the point where it's like, okay, you can say them 2 or 3 times and you're good to go. But some are a little more difficult. Take the main event for Noche, UFC Noche. Dvalishvili. Dude, you have to and I hear people mispronouncing it left and right. And I even talked to a fighter about this the other day. He was of Hawaiian descent, and his last name is Kanakawa. And just saying it like that, it's super easy. But if you look at the spelling, it's it necessitates questions.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk. It's very, very difficult. And you could be there. Grandparents there, they're professionals. You got to be a professional too. There's a lot that goes into it. Have you ever had a slip up? Because it does happen. Over the years, I've actually seen it happen plenty of times in a very innocent manner. What would you do? Maybe not mispronouncing something, but there's a certain flow, a melody that goes into it all. How do you also balance that? Because it's also like music in a way, just like the fighters and them, calculating this and that. You got to have a melody, a flow, and all of that. So how do you prevent a slip up?
I think it's impossible to prevent one, but I do vocal warm-ups. I'm a stage nerd from back in the day. I got my start in the world of performing, live performing, I should say, on an improv stage. And so we used to, part of our warm up was doing vocal warm ups. So it's you're doing different accents and literally saying tongue twisters so you can get your mouth ready.
Brown cow, anchorman.
Brown cow. Yep, absolutely. That's one of them. You need unique, unite New York, whether the weather is cold, whether the weather is hot. we'll be together, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Like just random stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Dr. Seuss professional over here. Wow.
that's what it takes, man. That, I mean, like some people are just like, okay, well, because I don't feel like I just fell into this. Like I knew a while ago that whatever my job was going to be, it was going to be in the performance realm. But I mean, there have been some pivots, but like I take it very seriously because as we talked about a minute ago, it means a lot to these, not just these fighters, but everybody around them. So I'm reaching out to the fighters, you know, earlier in the week, like, hey, how do you pronounce your name? Do you have a nickname? Where does it go? And by that, I mean, is it at the front and before your first name, or is it in the middle? You know, and these are things that I'm like, have to know that, you know, and it just depends on the promotion as to exactly what we're going to say on the microphone. But, you know, back to your question from a minute ago, as far as the flow goes, I'll start out relatively fast.
Well, because you have to, there's a suspense to it, right?
Yeah, there is.
So let's hear how you do this. This is interesting.
So you're starting off by saying, you know, fighting out of the blue corner, holding a record of 5 wins, 2 defeats, weighing in at 145.5 pounds, fighting out of, and usually I'll start to kind of ramp up when I say where they're from. It's like fighting out of Houston, Texas, and then go into their name, and then there's your build. You know what I mean? I start to kind of slow down in speed, but increase the volume and intensity as we're going to the end. That's how I do it. I think there's probably, you know, an overlap with some other ring announcers that do it as well, but you want to try and find the balance of getting all the information in relatively quickly, but also showing respect and, number one, pronouncing everything right, but really kind of hitting the high points, which in my opinion would be where they're from, the gym if the promotion requests that, because some promotions are like, no, we don't have to say, you know, what gym they're training out, where their, you know, team is training out of. But so big ones are where they're from and their name and nickname. So those, you know, you're basically kind of little rocket ship action towards the end there.
When did you like discover that? Because for me, you know, I'm like an acid child. My parents, you know, hippie, metalhead. I grew up Grateful Dead, music all around me. And then when I started like experiencing with like psychedelics and stuff, and I'm a musician, I play the guitar,
Cool.
Slowing tempos down, speeding them up, hitting different notes, you actually feel the vibration and energy shifting. And like, when did you kind of discover the key to that? Because it's magic. It's really magic. People say, you know, when you write something down, they call it spelling, because every letter, every word, you're casting spells in a way. You're actually creating something. Tempo and all that. This is very interesting. When did you kind of discover that? And it's very fascinating because it seems like you actually got it down, like figured out. And a lot of people, they don't realize this when they're tuning into an event and this and that. So when did you kind of discover the power that's in all of that and how to, you know, manage the tempo, the tone and all that? When did you kind of discover the power, and how did you find your own voice and tone? Like, when did this kind of for you?
Man, so I've been doing emceeing live events for like 16 years now. So I feel like
comedy.
Yeah,
okay.
Comedy included. My first live event, live emceeing was for the Atlanta Hawks back in 2008, and so I was the backup in-game host. It was actually one of my friends, a guy by the name of Mike King in Atlanta, who got me the job as his backup because he was the main guy. And so when he wasn't available, and we knew each other because we were part of the same improv troupe. And sometimes he would have work things or whatever, and I was his backup. And you know, it was one of those things where you got to kind of use the improv skills, use your whatever vocal talents I have or don't have, depending on who you ask. And it was a lot of fun because we got to be in the crowd, and it was, if you've been to like, an NBA game, they do, when it's a commercial break, then you still have a live event going on, right? So it's like cool, we're gonna do a the half court shot type thing, sponsored by Home Depot or whatever the case may be. In Atlanta, obviously, it's going to be all about.
And you could, in an arena like that, when you're on the mic and you can, yeah, I see.
It's huge, and then that's kind of when I fell in love with it, and I was able to do more events from there. I do a lot of automotive events, but ring announcing is my passion, and yeah.
What varies? There's got to be a little bit of a change. That's kind of like switching a genre of music, or being a singer and then having to do a radio commercial or something like that. Like, where's the difference when you're doing NASCAR or a commercial? Like, how do you really figure out what is the key, and also not be cookie cutter in a way? I'm sure when it comes to those big brands, they expect you to have a certain flow and a certain thing. But how do you go from switching and figuring all that? Like, what's the difference when you do an event like MMA, or you do something for NASCAR, or Nissan?
Big one is crowd size, brother. Like if I'm doing, if I happen to be emceeing for a comedy show and it's, let's say there's 30 people in the room, I mean, back to my stage days for just a second, it doesn't matter if you got 6,000 or 6,000 out there, because everybody paid good money. But your energy is absolutely determined by, how many people do you have in the room? Because if I'm coming out there ring announcer style and I got 30 people out there, then, Chad needs to chill out just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So that's that's legit. But like, so for ring announcing, it's one of those things where I feel like there are no restraints there. I can literally, it's all of my vocal ability, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you're a gamer at all.
Yeah, I got my Xbox right here.
That's what's up. Yeah. So it's, for me, and because I'm a Street Fighter fan, for me it's almost like, and this is gonna be super nerdy, but I don't care, I'm gonna put it out there. It's almost like Rue basically kind of gathering the energy for a fireball.
Something like that, right?
And then it's literally that's what it is, because you have to kind of rein it in under certain circumstances. More intimate crowd, depending on the venue. But with, like, I just feel like with ring announcing, there's no holds barred, there's no like restraints on me, and as long as you're kind of getting to the sponsors in a professional way, and then when it's time to introduce the fighters, like after all the announcements are made, like, okay, we've given a shout out to sponsors and the officials ringside and all that jazz. When it's time to announce the fighters, that's when I just feel like, okay, it's just me and the microphone and the two fighters in the ring or the cage. And I know, obviously, I know that there's more to it than that, but that's how I feel at that moment, just because there's laser focus, and that's what it requires. Yeah, exactly.
Before the beasts clash.
That's exactly what it is. It's that the storm is a brewing.
Madness brewing, chaos reigns, only warriors stand, unbroken tonight, right? Oh man. You're nailing it, man. This is so interesting. But I gotta say this. When you started doing this, what's the biggest thing that you realized that you are special with? Like, what's one thing that you didn't even realize you were talented in, and somebody was like, hey man, when was the first time somebody was like, wow, to you? Has anybody come up and appreciated the art, and did you realize that you were hitting these chords?
I have had a few moments like that at the end of a show where people have asked, like, for autograph, and be like, just a great job. And great job is enough for me, because like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, nobody has to say anything.
Usually people will tell you what you did wrong. So yeah.
No, we're definitely in an era, and I feel like that's less likely to happen to somebody's face, but definitely more likely online. But I'll tell you that honestly, the God's honest truth is, my wife she was like, you're good at that. We can put together a reel for you, which we did during the pandemic, by the way, because no live events going on. And basically we did a green screen, and it was me basically announcing against a green screen with a backdrop, and she's an amazing editor. She's
I saw your
multi-talented.
TikTok, man. I saw your
Yeah.
TikTok, and I was like, there was like a horror event that you were like doing or something, and you made it sound like it was so interesting. So yes, continue with what you're saying about your wife and her helping
No,
you, because that's
she's been super supportive. She basically built my website. She put together my. Not only did she, was she like director, camera person, and editor for my entire reel. That actually got me. Now I have a new reel since then because obviously we're in a time now where we're luckily allowed to go to live events and have that fun again. But my original reel was all green screen, and that was because of her. And she basically said, "You're good at this. We need to put a reel together for you." And because I feel like that this is kind of your gift. And I thought, and I had to think about it because I was more into comedy at that point, and I was like writing all the time, and doing going to stand-up shows and doing that. And I was like, okay, well, I enjoy doing that, but if she's telling me, and I respect the hell out of her.
Women are usually right. Even if we don't think it at the time, most of the time they're right.
Well, they are, and not only that, but she's looking out. I know that she's looking out for my best interest. So if she's saying she didn't mean it as an insult, like, by the way, you suck at comedy. She's saying, she's saying, if you have this gift, then you should pursue it. And so it took me a minute to kind of receive that, process it, and go.
Can I stop you there for 1 second? Because I had a really personal struggle a couple of years ago. I was dating this girl. I was doing the podcast, doing this, doing that. I had her on the show a couple of times, and she was supportive of it. But it's really special that you say, she's helping build you up, because for me, I would be sitting down trying to cover an MMA event. All of a sudden, a fight would break out, or she would show up while I was doing the show and try to, do this or that. When it comes to stuff like that and people that surround you like that, how do you manage staying in character and keeping the momentum? Because we all have the highs and lows, and in fighting, you could lose the fight, feel like the world's over and everyone's doubting you. And what would you say to people out there that are trying to pursue their dreams, but unfortunately they don't have somebody next to them pointing this or that out? Like, what's one thing that you believe works for you? Because it's very difficult for a lot of us to even get out of bed. This is the one thing that gets me out of bed. And for a while, man, like, I was cutting myself. I ended up in a psych ward. I started using drugs again because of it. It took a very big toll on me, and it took a lot of the people that supported this podcast over the years, including fighters, to reach out to me and say, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, something must be going on here." And I thought that it was me, and I was wrong in this, and I couldn't get myself motivated again. And I'd want to do the show and set things up. I've had all the ideas, and I just couldn't get myself to get over that. So for people out there maybe going through the same thing, what's one thing that keeps you on that hamster wheel to not stop?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. First and foremost, I'm so sorry that you went through that, but also thank you for having the courage to talk about it, because I know that you're helping other people just by talking about it. Like, that's awesome, because I feel like I definitely, especially during the pandemic, I went through some dark times as well. And to your point, not everybody has that person to lean on, which I know that my wife and I did that for each other. So I have a line from a movie and I'm a big movie buff. That's something else about me. But The Equalizer, Denzel Washington. I just learned recently that he actually pronounces it Denzel, and now I can't unlearn it. But that's a different story for a different time.
This is like a Mandela effect kind of thing.
I don't know, but yeah, apparently. So that's Denzel, and that was like, apparently I think that was his dad's name too, and so his mom would yell for Denzel, and they would both show up. Anyway, I saw it was a video. But back to what you asked about. So there's a movie from called The Equalizer, starring Denzel, or Denzel, however you want to say it, and the line is, it's short and sweet. It's progress, not perfection. And that's one of the lines that I just kind of take with me every day, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I'm like, if I can't do it at A plus plus plus, then what's the point? And I'm trying to get away from that mentality.
That was like
You
me
know what I'm
tonight
saying?
when I was messaging you. This is really important. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean that's one of those things that like I
Wow.
have to let go of, because especially from an improv background, like literally your success is, you can't view it as a failure if something goes wrong on stage. It's an opportunity. And so like that's one of the things that I did learn from improv. But just being a little bit of a perfectionist and trying to kind of get through that, I feel like that if you can progress a little bit each day and get on the path, find something. Number one, find something that you're passionate about, that you love. And if you can find a career in a field that you absolutely love and adore, and it doesn't feel like work, then I mean that's a little bit cliche, but still there's truth
Mm.
in those words. But progress, not perfection, and really find what your passion is. If you're not passionate about what you're doing and you're just clocking in and clocking out 9 to 5, then that's okay, because we all have to earn money. But as soon as you clock out at 5 p.m., be working on your passion, be working on that, so you can set yourself up for the next step. And that's literally what my wife helped me do. And then the last thing that I would say is, don't be afraid to pivot, because even though I knew that my job would be in the performance realm, again, I've kind of shifted from just being a regular live event MC to comedy, and now to ring announcing, because it's like, well, why don't I love the martial arts. I love the passion behind ring announcing, and I've already got a ton of experience as an MC. Why can't I combine all those things together? So if you can form Voltron again, I'm going to break out several 80s references. It's going to be
I've got 1,000 comic books, toys that me and my grandfather
nice.
collected. So we're
Oh,
right here with you.
I was a Transformers kid, just so I have plenty of those in boxes at my dad's house.
Wow. Uh, After the show, I'll send you the collection I got here.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting how you're grabbing this and grabbing that and making sense with a lot of it. Because for me, with what you just said, before we went live, I was like, I got to make sure I got this right before we go live and this and that. And I really panic about it. But once
Yeah.
it's live, that's when I feel alive. We were literally just talking about that. And
We're the same in that, brother. We're absolutely the same in that, because I feel like I need to, like, I'm a little bit anxious when I'm trying to put all my information together, because I'll literally come out with my fighter info cards, right? Like I've got everything on it. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't want there to be a single question leading up to it. But to your point, once you go live, and once you're, either on camera or in the cage, then the prep work is done at that point, and now it's time to perform.
it's really interesting too, because a lot of these actors in this, they say, you know, it's not, I don't want to say a possession or this or that, but it's almost like you really feel there's a purpose behind it. And when you tune these arts and you start doing this and you realize, tones, and then you realize, oh, the family's there, and then you realize, oh wow, I'm controlling a lot of this in the middle of it all. You really feel like you're a part of something so important. And I really don't want anyone out there that's, you know, trying to pursue their dreams no matter what it is, to allow anybody to tell them not to do what they're doing and fall on a safety net. Always continue your passion, because if you find interest in something and you're starting to realize this, you're learning about life, reality, and you're learning so much about what's really important in life and how things actually work outside of what we were told or taught in school. There's a lot of programming. And with what you do, the programming that you do during these events live, you're making a software that is going to be posted in time forever. And I think it's so special when somebody out there continues this passion and finds these things. I think that's really important to have in life, no matter what you do. You have a job 9 to 5, keep doing it. I like that you said that about the progress, and there's so much art that goes into it. But the one thing that really interests me, I know that you had to be going back and forth on this one thing I'm about to ask you. How did you come up with your line? I didn't say the line yet to anybody, but you're known for this line. Before you say it, tell me what was going through your head, because a ring announcer has to have, "It's time," or "Let's get ready." You knew that was part of it. So what was the creative process behind that?
Oh man, I treated it just like comedy writing, where it's like, all right, I know what. Number one, I was trying to find something that rhymed and something that was catchy. You know what I mean? Like, because if you can have something that's catchy and that rhymes, and it's easier to associate that phrase with me, then boom,
Even
done.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. That worked apparently.
I actually tried saying that at a live event, and it didn't really go over that well. I don't know why. But I came up with, I mean, I'm sure it was a dozen or more phrases, and then I would start to whittle it down. And, so I always was kind of looking for something that was like a repetition, of consonant sounds, like alliteration or something like that, or something that rhymed. And I ended up with something that rhymed, and I'm like, all right, well, who am I talking to? I'm talking to a crowd. What do I want them to do? I want them to get loud. So it's time for this crowd to get loud, baby.
And light the fuse right there, right? How long did it take for you to, once you got that, to be like, okay, I'm not going to change this, I'm going to stick? The reactions that you got from that, it had to be electrifying, right?
Yeah, it was. And sometimes here's the thing, and it's a great question, because it depends on the event. Like, yes, the first time I did it, fantastic. But like some events, the crowd has started to dwindle a little bit, and they're like, you know what? Let's get to the action. So like if you're into, and I'm not going to name any promotions, but I work with promotions that sometimes will have 18, 19 fights, and it's like, okay, we're well into the evening.
I cover a lot of like Muay Thai events and stuff like that. You'll see tons of or regional fights like that. Yeah.
And so there's a bunch, and by the time that you reach the end of the night, if somebody's been sitting there for, let's say, 4 or 5 hours, they're like, all right, I'm tired. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to hype us up, but like, can I just see the match already? So I try and find that balance, right? Like I don't want to be there unnecessarily. I'm like, I have a job to do, and I want to do it well. But like sometimes at the end of the night, it's like, let's just cut to the chase. So you kind of have to pick your battles a little bit. Because it's not the Chad show, right? Like, and I had to learn that a little bit along the way, as well. Like some people that I worked with, it's like it was actually at an auto show, because I do a lot of work, in the auto industry. And it's like, so one of my coworkers was like, they're not here for you. And I was like,
how did you react to that? How did you react to that?
And I had to take it on board. I had to take it. I was like, you better shush. And then I thought about it, like, he's totally right. She's 110% right. They are here for the cars. They are not here for Chad. And that's the same thing with the fights, right? Like, do I want to enhance the experience? 110%. Do I want to make it a memorable one that they go home and talk about, for the next month? Hell yes. But, I'm under no, impression or illusion that they're there for me, right? I want to make it better, and I want to make it the best experience it can be, but they're there for the fights. So I don't want to indulge in, what I'm doing too much to the point where it's affecting their experience and the time that they're having. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And when it comes to it, when you reach to the top, and, you got to keep that happy thought alive and your purpose alive. But there's a lot of underground that's there too. There's a lot of people that want to take your spot from you, right? What is the ring announcing crew? I'm sure, like with any scene, there's a
Yep.
crew. I always say this: there's somebody next in line for the job that you want. Why not you? Right?
Right.
How is the ring announcing scene, and are they very competitive? Like, what is it like when it comes to the underground, the gossip, the drama of it all? You could say you're not involved with it. I'm sure you see it though, and we have no idea about any of that. You would. So what is this scene, and what is it like? What goes on year to year here?
I definitely know that there's competition, and I say that because like I'm always kind of looking for the next opportunity, right? Like I appreciate so much the opportunities that I've been given, and I work with some amazing promotions right now. Up Next Fighting has an event coming up in just a few weeks, September 28th here in Los Angeles. We're doing Punch for Parkinson's in Miami.
October
And
19th,
yeah,
PFC
fighting.
39. Yeah, October 12th, Punch for Part. We're gonna talk about that in
Cool.
just a moment. Um,
Well, yeah, absolutely. So to answer your question, it's one of those things where, as far as the drama is concerned, I mean, if there hadn't been drama, the first job that I got as a ring announcer was, believe it or not, for a Muay Thai boxing promotion in, wait for it, Sweden. That was my
okay.
first
That that,
first
that
gig. I
that's
wouldn't have had that opportunity had there not been uh, a ring announcer that kind of messed up his opportunity with that promotion.
yeah.
So, yep.
I mean, just like uh, the quarterback, what Tom? Oh my God, Tom Brady, right?
Yep.
He got his opportunity. He wasn't even supposed to get signed to the NFL. He was just a guy that somehow ended up. Guy who was the starter, I think it was Drew Bledsoe at the time, was
It
sick.
was.
Fills
Yep.
in. He wasn't even supposed to be this big star, but he was able, when it was crunch time and it came down to the chaos, he was able to fill it in. So going to Sweden, and if you guys know, obviously Combat Sports Channel, Sweden, you have Zarina Bars, the #1 Muay Thai female fighter in my books, who's beat Chris Cyborg before, just legend. Valentina Shevchenko, the now champion, who's been on this channel before. Her and her sister, we've been there right next to right next to Valentina, as she was there for Antonina doing these Muay Thai events. They take it very seriously over there. So, um, with your story filling in that spot over there, man, very very interesting.
Yeah.
With the
So it
scene.
was that's how I got that first job, and then they liked me so much that they wanted me to, be their main ring announcer, and so I hope to work with them again. But I have more work here in the States now that kind of keeps me pretty busy, which is again
If
awesome.
you win them over in Sweden for Muay Thai, man, that's a huge green jacket that they put on you for that. That's a lot of people do not get the opportunity in another country for something they take so seriously. That says a lot about you, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. That's high praise, and I will I definitely appreciate that. It's a great organization. If you haven't seen them, they have their videos up on YouTube. So shout out to YouTube, and it's called Muay Thai for Life, the Muay Thai for Life series, and Patrick Thompson is such a good guy. I really enjoyed the time that I got to spend with him, and all of his fighters. I mean, like the respect level. That's one thing that I will say. Like, look, we all love some trash talking in MMA, right? But the respect on the opposite side of that, the level of respect that these fighters not only show their teachers, their training partners, but the other fighters,
In
like,
Muay Thai especially. You don't see
yeah,
trash talking or any of that there. You barely hear the crowd sometimes. Like, crowd
yeah, and
very
but
silent.
they get into it for real when the action has begun. So yeah, like it's one of the it's super respectful, and I love the purity of it. I mean, the striking martial arts are obviously super exciting anyway, and Muay Thai is one of my favorite, if not my favorite. I love me some MMA, but I mean, yeah, it's one of those things. Bare knuckles having its time right now, but yeah, I think that the crossover, the overlap there is everybody's excited to see some people throw down. And so like it's because some people have asked me, it's like, well, let's like you do MMA, and I'm like, I do ring announcing, I do cage announcing. So it's like the bottom line is there are people there who have paid to see your live event and for people to fight. Now, obviously, it's going to go down a little bit differently depending on what type of promotion we're watching. But some promotions actually do more than just MMA. Like with my friends at Peak, they do bare knuckle. They do 4-ounce Muay Thai. So they're literally like just like one championship. They're going with the MMA gloves, Muay Thai style, which is badass. So they did that recently. They'll be doing it again very soon. But I'm pretty sure they can't do that in Texas. I think we have to do it in Louisiana based on the sanctioning bodies and the rules and whatnot. But I think it's outside of Texas. But they're kind of all in that South Central region. And yeah, man. So it's super exciting either way you slice it.
I mean, how many people are really out there in the forum of potentially the next ring announcer? Like my question with the scene, like, do you see a lot of, like, are there a lot of opportunities out there for it? And like, is there competitiveness? Like, do you go into an event when it's your first time there and feel like you could be replaceable? Is it a big community or is it small? Or
I feel like it's relatively small. I would call it a specialized skill, but there's enough people out there that are really solid at it.
So what would qualify you as a ring announcer? If somebody's listening and like, oh, that sounds it. What steps do you have to go through? I got 2 more questions for you, and that being one of them right there. What steps do you take if you want to pursue that kind of a path?
Depending on certain states, I think some states you'll have to get like licensed for it, but the states that I work in don't require that. But I feel like it is having the experience level, to begin with in some way, shape, or form in live events, because all of my experience was either in the sporting realm that kind of led to combat sports.
Shoots and ladders, right? Shoots and ladders.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, so there's an overlap there that kind of led to it. And then, because I worked with the Hawks and the Braves, a little bit of the Thrashers when there was actually a hockey team in Atlanta, but not anymore. They're the Winnipeg Jets now. If you're watching
Hartford Whalers. They're not a team anymore either.
There you go. Yeah. There you go, man. So, there's a big overlap there. You reach out to promoters. If somebody wanted to get started with something, they would need to do like kind of what my wife helped me do, is put together a reel and then send that to promoters. That's literally like I have a spreadsheet of 200 promotions.
Impressed with your LinkedIn, your website, your everything, and all of that will be down below here for you guys listening to the audio and the video podcast. That will all be listed down below. Definitely go check some of that out. But yeah, man, very, very interesting, because when I started, I went to broadcasting school, right? Even as a kid, I had opportunities, but I had to go to broadcasting school and this and that. But now you could make a TikTok, and there's so many opportunities out there, and it's growing now, because I'm sure in the next 10 years there's going to be such an evolution with what you do, what I do. Even the fighters now used to be specialized in one form. Now it's complete mixed martial arts, which was a made up term when this all started. There was no such thing as mixed martial MMA. It was a made up thing, and now it's actually mixed martial arts, right?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Very, very interesting. Before we let you go here, you got a couple of upcoming events.
Yes, sir.
You're all in Los Angeles, but there's a lot of traveling that you do, and I have listeners from all over this planet. You're out in Sweden, you're here and there, so a lot of opportunities to come out and check you. And a lot of these listeners, they go to these regional shows. I always try to promote. So important when you go to these regional shows, you see a fighter. And you guys have seen it on this podcast so many times before they were in the UFC, before they were in the top 10. They were here on Pure Evil MMA talking about the regional shows and this and that. That's where the excitement is. And when you see a fighter for the first time at a regional show, and then you follow his career, there's such beauty in that. And you being there, I kind of want you to kind of plug where you're going to be, because a lot of these listeners will show up and they'll definitely come say hi to you. So what do you got planned here? I know September 28th, up next fighting, you October 19th in Armafido for PFC.
Yeah, no, I may have misspelled that. It's in Amarillo. It's in Amarillo, Texas for PFC 39. But the one coming up at the end of this month here in LA, that's UNF 20, or Up Next Fighting 20. And yeah, if you're not actually able to go to the actual live event,
the
then
Commerce
that'll
Theater and Hotel,
yeah.
September 28th, correct?
Commerce Casino, yes sir.
Okay.
The 28th, and then I'll be in Miami, Punch for Parkinson's, which is an awesome charity, in early October on the 12th, actually. So amazing event, raising money.
About? That's really important. That with CTE and everything, there's people in our Skype like messaging, listening to us, but Parkinson's, CTE, and seeing Muhammad Ali, and things like that. This is very important. Out in Miami, I used to live down in Boca Raton actually for a little while. This time of year, guys, if you're gonna travel, don't go down there for too long during this time of year. It's so hot and it rains, but the beauty is in the sunsets.
Just there. Yeah, man, they're beautiful. It's awesome.
Karate Combat is down there as well. So Miami, October 12th, Punch for Parking. What is this event about? I think it's really important to plug this one.
Yeah, so it's awesome organization. And I literally wouldn't have my start in the business without Freddie Roach. And basically, you know what I'm saying? So they
you personally, because I did a show with UFC Ultimate Fighter Season 10 #1 pick for Team Rashad Evans, James McSweeney, who's trained with Pacquiao and Freddie Roach as well. It's a small world. I would never think people I run into know legend.
Well, he's not. I wouldn't consider him like a buddy of mine. Don't get me wrong. If he invited me out for a beer, I'm 100% going. I'll drop whatever I'm doing. But they were cool enough to let me come in and actually film my during the pandemic. That's where I filmed part of my reel that I used to get work, and they were super chill about it. They stayed late for me to keep the lights on while my wife shot the footage of me at his. Wow. At his gym, and it was so they were just so cool and welcoming and nice and respectful, and so this was a great opportunity for me to kind of give a little tip of the cap, and also it's just a great cause. So yeah, man, that's coming up, and then we'll have Peak Fighting on the 19th. So that's another fantastic promotion that I work with, and they're
Saturday,
all over
October 19th, right?
Yeah.
Where is that? That's going to be in Amarillo, Texas.
Yes, in Spanish it would be Amarillo, but in just gringo it's going to be Amarillo.
So if people are going to these events, you do comedy as well. Say for instance, somebody goes to Miami. Do you know any clubs that are in Miami that people can go check? Because the comedy scene, the MMA scene, martial arts scene, it's really actually becoming kind of a one thing. People are getting really interested in both because of all the personalities and stuff. So
for sure. I'll be honest with you. I've never been on a comedy stage in South Florida, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't. I definitely would, but I am unfamiliar with the comedy scene there. My improv was in Atlanta, and then my stand-up has kind of been out here in LA mostly. A little bit in Palm Springs. I was able to do an event where I introduced Daryl Hammond, legend from Saturday Night Live, which he was one of the guys I grew up watching and stuff. So I had the opportunity to do that.
My friend Adam Hunter, he does MMA Roasted. He's a big stand-up guy. He goes to a lot.
Yeah. I actually reached out to him because he has I think he does a podcast as well. Yeah.
MMA Roasted. Yeah. Yep.
Dude, yeah. So I reached out.
Are very close. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Right on, brother.
Yeah, he does the comedy and all of this as well with Mayhem Miller and all of that. This is
Mayhem is a fun dude. Mayhem he's been at the last couple of Up Next Fighting events, actually. Mayhem is super chill. He's a lot of fun.
He's been on this podcast before, man. A couple of my idol, literally my idol. I shared on my Facebook, I think yesterday. I posted a clip, him giving me a shout out Evil Eddie and Matt Horwich, wherever Matt Horwich is. And I love Mayhem Miller. It's such an interesting character. What a small world.
I feel like with Mayhem, there's he's like an onion. There's so many layers there. You know what I mean? But I don't know him well, but what I do know of him is super interesting cat. Yeah.
Yeah, but really quick, I never shared this clip with anyone. Mayhem, he's been on the show a couple times. He has a thing called the Mayhem Monkey Cult. They're huge supporters of this podcast.
Is that like chihuahuas? Is that like yelling out chihuahuas at the?
No. It's literally a group of people that just love Mayhem and they support him, and they get Mayhem gives them all numbers, this and that. But he's been on the show one time, and at one point I had 70 pet rats I would let run around wild in the studio. Now I just have 2 over there, but yeah. Chris Cyborg would make fun of me, the rats running around and stuff like that. So Mayhem came on. He was like, "Man, you started a little rat circus." And then he started yelling at me and doing this and that. Like, he is one of the, he's intimidating, but at the same time, he is a true entertainer. So, I had to throw that out there if you've met Mayhem.
Man.
Really quick, before we let you go, outside of all this, TikTok, all of that, what I like to do at this point in the episode, I like to hand the imaginary microphone over to you. If you have any shout outs, any sponsorships, any content that you would like anyone to check out, the floor is now all yours.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, definitely check out my website because all of my upcoming events are on there. Again, thanks to my amazing wife. It's mcchadfishburne.com. And MC is actually spelled out, EMCEE.
I noticed that, yeah.
Here's why. Because if you don't spell it out, it's literally the letter M, the letter C in my name, which makes it sound like Chad Fishburne, which is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
That's why it's spelled out.
Mick Chad Fishburne.
Yeah, did you guys check out that awesome event online? Yeah, it was Chad Fishburne.
I really like Mick Chad Fishburne. That sounds like an AI name. Someone. Wow.
I sound like a hamburger that you would get at McDonald's. You got the McChad. Oh, that's cute.
I really got
no,
that a lot.
Unsubscribe.
Okay, now everyone's gonna remember to spell it out because of that little. Right, so. Perfect.
Yes. That would be amazing. Yeah, check out the website. And then, again, tune in to these events coming up. If you're not able to go in person, the UNF event, UNF 20 on September 28th, that's going to be on starfund.stream. And then the Peak event, I'm not sure if they're going to air it for the Punch for Parkinson's, but the Peak event, Peak Fighting Championship 39 from live from Amarillo, that's going to be on the Peak Fighting app. So you can download that anywhere where you find apps.
Okay, I'll be able to share that link down below for everybody. They'll be able to find it. I want to thank you so much for coming on the Pure Evil MMA podcast. I would really like to catch up with you maybe in a couple of months because I have 4 more pages of very deep questions. And now that we kind of open it up and listeners are tuning in, I'm sure they're going to reach out and say, hey, why don't you dive back into some of the struggles and the arts? And I have a lot more here, and I'm sure there's going to be some fans that are going to send some questions because when it comes to ring announcing and art form of it, very interesting. I'm so happy that you reached out to me. Really quick, I think I asked you this before, but I just want you to tell everybody, how did you discover the podcast? I thought somebody reached out to you to say, hey, I've been on the show. How did you discover Pure Evil MMA?
I actually reached out to my friend Google, also known as Google. And so I literally just typed in best MMA podcast and you showed up, brother. Wow. And so the way that I do it is I'm like trying to like book myself on like a lot of different shows just to kind of
That's how you
get
do
my
it.
name out there, just to basically say, all right, well, this is kind of where he is right now, but be on the lookout because I'm going to see you guys again from the next level up.
And then they
So,
hear
and I
here,
would
there,
100%
there,
love
there,
to.
and then you're a part
Exactly.
of their life, right?
100%. Like, you know, and anybody that wants to jump on this train, then please do. Like, I welcome that, and I appreciate you so much, because I love this stuff, and if I get you excited from watching at home, then that's like why I do it. It's, you know, for the fighters, for the fans.
We got to get you
So
on MMA Roasted. We have
yeah,
to. We have to. That guys, we're gonna be tweeting Adam after this. We got to get you on there, and everybody will be tuning into that for sure. So you're making your round, you're making your mark, and you've made an impact, and it's gonna be held within me from what you said about it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And I want to thank you for sharing that with me. I'm actually getting goosebumps right now. It's really important, and that's why this show is called Pure Evil MMA. I am not evil. My name is Eddie Vallejo, EVIL, but I'm giving you the purest form of who I am within the mixed martial arts, and this is what it's all about here. And with that being said, I hope you have a great night, and we'll be talking to you very soon. God bless.
thank you so much, man. Yeah, and I would love to come back on, just so you know. I definitely don't want to cut you short, but yeah, for sure. Let's do it again. Let's absolutely do it again, and I really appreciate you taking the time out and having me on your show.
Before you leave here, really quick, can you just say, hey guys, Chad Fishburne, and you're listening to Pure Evil MMA.
Hey guys, this is Chad Fishburne, and you're listening to Pure Evil MMA.
Thank you. I will talk to you soon. God bless. Count your blessings. And remember, without evil, there's no purity.
That's what's up. Appreciate you, brother.
There we go, guys. Very interesting interview. Once again, bringing you the real art inside of this, not just the same thing, the same recaps, which reminds me, UFC 306. Are you guys ready for me to cover that tonight in 2 hours? 9 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be covering that. We got to get Chad Fishburne on MMA Roasted with Mayhem, Adam, and Don Fry. So, guys, remember, white knuckles till the end. Without evil, there's no purity. Behave yourselves.